They share one mind. It feels like at times they are so consistently playing around each other. But that's not to say that the Oni Warriors don't have the capacity to play to those peaks. Each one of their players individually is incredibly talented, but the conversation around this team throughout the year so far is when are they going to shape up? When are they going to live up to the expectations that we have of them? Every single week, they're running out of time.
We saw that kind of glimmer of what we expected from this squad leading into the Phase 1 playoffs, didn't we? Where it was like, wow, you get a couple back-to-back champions, you mesh them with some fantastic players from SSG. Like, there's no way that this team falls short. And it's just taken a little bit of time to get their feet underneath them. But I agree with your assessment there, Mifflin, where it's time. You know, we're getting to be halfway through the year. It's time to get those wheels rolling and see some serious improvement on a consistent basis. And this would be a very great but also tough opponent to get some of that momentum started again. So let's catch back up with picks and bans, though, for game number 1. Gilgamesh taken off the table. On the other side, Sol and Ymir will also take a seat. So let's try to limit a little bit of what wrong you can do there, and then maybe Shinto on the Sol out of the mid as well.
Yeah, very standard bans across the board here so far. Wouldn't be overly surprised if we see Yamoja join the bans across the top. Leviathans,
right,
though, do throw a little bit of a wrench in the loop. Serket getting removed immediately is one of Cuvo Fred's best gods, I'd say. He's been very consistent on this pick this year, and Cuvo Fred is a player that I think that they are right on the Leviathans to try and target out. He's had a little bit of a slower start in the regular season, generally has been one of the most consistent junglers during that regular season play, and then even elevates it further at that land stage. So trying to target out a player that has been struggling a little bit here, make him go deeper into his god pool, going to put him on the back foot beginning.
Yeah, Cuvo Fred on Serket just feels great. So I think the eyes are correct here for the Atlantis Leviathans. This is a moment where the Oni Warriors have to juggle a little bit. It depends what they want, what they're prioritizing first overall, because the Oni Warriors will get the first pick here. So, the Gilgamesh is gone. The Tiamat still available. That's something you might see the Oni Warriors pick up, but instead they don't want it. So they'll take that one away, and that does leave the likes of the Emoja open, and I think that receives a bit of a wrong you buff, doesn't it, in a game like this, where we've seen Yamoja fall a little bit further in the drafts, but up against someone like Wrong You, the priority might have to be a little higher. But I think that's maybe not doing as much respect to Neil. Neil can also play the Yamoja at a very, very, very high level, and that means the Leviathans will take it away fearing a first pick, and instead it'll be Loki first overall here in Game 1.
Loki is a god that has had a huge resurgence since his rework, and I remember the fans at home, the Reddit threads, the Twitter threads, everyone saying, "What have they done to my boy Loki? He's not that one-shot stealth split push god anymore. Instead, now he is a little bit more so involved in the match. He wants to get inside of these early skirmishes, get involved in these fights. Has an incredibly strong early game and doesn't really fall off that hard either. I think that seeing Loki in this first pick position is something that we can generally start to get used to. But when you take something like that first up overall, the Leviathans aren't going to leave a lot on the table. Raijin and Guan Yu together, hard to argue against these two picks. You've got damage, you've got initiation, you've got wave clear, and sustain for your team.
Right, you've already got the jump into the back and find lockdown, and then the follow-up on the jump into the back and find lockdown. There is a bit of that, though, with the Oni Warriors here. Loki, you've gone over there a little bit. The Morrigan has started to see a rise in play here in this phase. It's largely been the Bolts that have brought that one to the forefront, but it's seen great value. Now here's a pick that hasn't quite seen the same rise. Granted, we haven't had that many games so far in Phase 2, but enough that one pick still stands out as a pretty low pick rate.
Yeah, Apollo, interesting selection for the ADC here, so high up in the priority order. Every single hunter in the game was available to be selected here. He decides to go towards the Apollo. What am I seeing right now from the Oni Warriors draft? Well, double stealth, that's going to be pretty hard to deal with in these late-game team fights. In particular, Danza Burrow is going to be very susceptible to being caught out of position by either the Morrigan or Loki. But the Morrigan, having that Changeling ultimate, also brings a little bit more global presence. Could utilize this Apollo transformation to just join the fight in the duo lane, go over to either side lane, and get involved.
Well, Daji is going to take a seat here. Panatom still needing a pick for the Atlantis Leviathans, so the team's potentially somewhat mirrored in their picks here. Guan Yu certainly out of the solo lane. Loki, you would guess, out of the jungle then for Cuvo Fred. So both mid and hunters, though, locked in for both teams. So that'll mean the focus is centered elsewhere. Largely in the jungle now in the ban column for the Oni Warriors is Daji and Erlang Shen both take a seat. And then in the solo lane for the Leviathans, as the ghost chair spins around.
Neil, where you at, bud?
What do you mean? He's right there.
Oh, can you see him?
Yeah.
I guess I'm reading it right here. Production said only dumb people can see Neil Ma.
What a garbage joke.
You can't just do that to me, bro.
I can if it knocks you off balance like that. Leviathans, I'll bail you out there, Myth. Leviathans, they take the Odin and the Osiris
Production's joke
off the board. Actually, I think it's probably smart to take away the Odin, because the Odin Morgan combo, that double cage combo, was so threatening from the bolts. I think the Leviathans learn a little bit from that matchup and take him away.
Yeah, I think that the Fafnir is going to be incredibly strong for this team, just for a little bit of ranged engage, and it's something that the Oni Warriors would have likely liked to have for themselves. They don't have very much initiation, is what my point was going to be, and then this Terra got locked in. That does help them out a fair bit here, but it's not the strongest initiation. Terra is really known for her counterpunch playstyle, utilizing that Earthen Fury to just get a little bit more survivability. There's your CC core. There's your initiation. Cthulhu locked in, and, well, the conversation around him back in Season 7 was, this guy just CCs people too much. Descent into Madness makes him so strong inside the team fight, and we have seen him a couple of times here in Season 8, but has struggled to find his footing. We'll see whether or not Cthulhu can do it here.
Is he going to be in the solo lane, or is it going to be Terra?
I don't want to do any. What were
We're
those
not
eyes?
going there.
Yeah,
We're not doing
there at all.
The Leviathans will lock in set for their 5th and final pick here. So,
to the map of the meta and see if they can find some wind.
Yeah, I mean, so much had changed that when I saw this Apollo locked in, it's so rare that we've seen it that I almost was wondering if it was going to be a Nika pick for it, because he'll play anything and everything on his streams, and I've seen him take Tiamat over there, anything that he can pick up, but the Cthulhu pickup is going to be really interesting for him.
Going back to the Apollo real quick,
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I'm going to say about that, if we've seen a lot of attack speed builds from these hunters, the steroid
he
that
does the
Apollo
attack speed
gets-
kind of better, right?
Precisely. His passive Audacity is going to allow him a little bit more in terms of generation of these auto attacks faster. So it does make some logical sense of attack speed focused characters could see a rise. Plus, global rotations. I guess more importantly, we are seeing, though, the Terra in the duo lane here, not in the solo lane like we saw in previous sets earlier on with the Kings this weekend. It will be Nika on that. Cthulhu, as vote does eat a hammer early on from Wrong You. So far, so good in the laning phase for both teams in the duo lane. No one really having an advantage there.
And I like this because Neil, I mean, look at the amount of setup he's going to have, plus the sustain that they're going to be able to bring. I mean, this should be a pretty leisurely lane for Vote, although I think that right hammer is the exact showcase of to what you do need to be worried about. There's still just enough setup on the other side, especially early on, that you're going to have to keep your beads on the ready. But like you had mentioned, the attack speed that he's already going to get, I'd kind of joked earlier that the vines being removed were like a pseudo-nerf
technically is, yeah,
to him, because people love to run to the jungle, smack up a couple of autos just to get that passive stacked a little faster, but ultimately, you're having a better time. Look, you get rid of those, you add a Harpy and a Draugr. Like, you're going to be fine, I think, if you're Vote here. And it's this item build that's been coming through, especially if you look towards the overcapping. That passive stacks onto that, so maybe you're going to lean heavily into it. But we've also seen a little bit of crit here and there. Apollo's not necessarily... Well, depending on the meta, he's known for the crit and not for the crit. And so we'll have to see what Vote decides to do with it. But having the setup that Neil's going to bring, I think this is going to be a pretty fun duo lane for the Warriors.
Speaking of Neil a bit more as well, did start off this time around looking towards maybe a Lotus Crown here, I would say, or the Tyrannical Playhelm. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Lotus Crown, I will say, in this build. And I do like this item, the 20-old process. Dawn in mid lane, under pressure from Panitom and Shinto, just too far forward. The Des did mention, what can the mid lane do in the early game for the Morrigan? And that's exactly what we saw Leviathans do there. Try and keep the pressure rolling onto Dardes during these early stages.
And that's the kind of pressure that I think you need to apply. And now it's Yarkor who's in a little bit of trouble. Looks like he should be just fine out of there. In fact, they might try to turn it around on Vote. But the pressure that Shinto, first off, on one of his signature picks here in the Raijin is going to be able to apply is crucial to keep Dardes down, because if you're talking about, hey, who are the best Morrigan players in the league?
60 physical prots, but then add on the additional 20 you'll get from whenever you heal yourself, and your teammates too are going to get that. That's better than Gauntlet of Thebes in terms of the aura that it's given you when it's applied.
It's one of those items that I personally pick up every time, but Vote just trying to get out and are not going to be able to get away with his life. And that's a good pickup for the Leviathans.
Walk away. Generally, what we've seen the Warriors play so far, though, go through Phase 1 into Phase 2. A lot of the early game has come through Neilmar's aggression, and then as the game goes on, it continues. And talking about the aggression now, the purple buff invade is attempted, but Neilmar is under a lot of pressure because of Rongu and Jarkor. Apollo already left the fray, and the rest of the team can't be here, so they've just left Neil all alone, who will end up falling down here. And that's just another casualty into the bank of Leviathan's coffers.
And we got to see a little bit, like, the duality of Terra, right? When your heal goes through and that Lotus Crown procs, which it's one of my favorite items on healers for all the reasons you had highlighted earlier, it's great because you get all those extra protections, but half the time you're going to be getting aggressive, you're looking for the root. That's how Neil started that, and he doesn't get those prots online. And so, yeah, base 60 is still going to be good, but maybe not good enough. They're actually starting to
crushing up Vote, who's out of position again on his own, tries to rotate into the Fury, but all there alone, another kill for Leviathans, and it didn't only cost Shinto's ultimate. Now Leviathan's grouping around this Fury again, looking for more picks, keeping this late game squad of what he is at bay, as Dardes dies trying to transform. Neilmar back in the action, Cuvo looking on, looking for a target, the focus is on Panitom. Panitom takes a bit of damage as Cuvo lands that ult, but no mana left over. Neil still giving chase here. I don't really know what he's looking for. I don't think the chase was on for Panitom. 5 kills now. A relic rather that can cause a lot of problems for Cthulhu in the ultimate.
Yeah, and anything like with Sunder already online, something like a Cursed Donk on top of it, the idea is just, can we stop you from existing? Can we kill you fast?
Talking about not existing, Neilmar still getting pressured again. The walls bought him time, but Rongyu's already there to wrap around. The rest of the team, 2 members in base there, and meanwhile the other member on the right-hand side of the map. This is a surrendered Gold Fury then in favor of the Leviathans, as nobody's going to be here from the Warriors to stop it.
There are plenty of ways to bounce back from this, but a lot of them involve just buckling down for a little bit, playing defensively,
the lightning
not
bolts,
really getting
taking the power out of your house, maybe.
Yeah, you had to stop.
We wouldn't do a remake for that one.
No,
that's for sure.
it's 10, 11 minutes in, there's 6 kills on the board. No, they're sitting in a pause screen as long as they
You're
need.
logging back in for that, but the Leviathans are playing great right now. And I
Yeah.
feel kind of unfortunate for Nika, who's going to be sat in that solo lane going, well, I don't know what I can do to impact it, because now Vote under pressure again, trying to get to the sky in time. The damage was still applied there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to bring him down. And now it's onto the Draugr here for the Leviathans, just to continue to build the bank of experience and gold.
Number one spot, but they've had a couple of 3-game sets that have led them there. The Leviathans not only want to tie it, they want to be there a little more demanding. They want less of a plus minus. Absolutely decimated. The front line, as the setup, the desk had kind of highlighted it. Like, it's all Nika, it's all Neil. If they aren't able to do it, you're hopefully getting some picks from Loki, but otherwise, they're just going to get erased.
Rongu on the front side, going to take a bit of poke from the carries of the Warriors there, but you can see what he did. Well, about 10% of his health bar. The Fury, meanwhile, way below 10%. Cuvo coming in, looking to try and cause a problem. We'll throw out the decoys. Now, Dardes transforms into Cthulhu and charges on in. Neilmar's there too, but the Cursed Donks are in play for both teams. Panitom gets the Aegis off to stay alive as the Apollo ducks to the back. Shinto under a lot of pressure from Vote, but Shinto's Aegis buys him some time for his team to come on in. The stunk from Rongu was huge at the tail end. Shinto is still alive in this engagement, and he will survive. Nika could be a completely different story. 3 members here of the Warriors dead. Make it 4 right now.
I'm speechless. There's no way, at the minimum, you're supposed to lose Shinto there. Like, I cannot understate how difficult a team fight to win that was for the Leviathans. When 2 Cthulhus are zoning that much, you should not be able to do that. And yeah, Hardcore's 5-0-2, he gets all those kills, but Shinto's jukes were absolutely insane.
And Dardes just trying to cause a problem there. Maybe look for a steal to turn something around here. Can't do it. Another kill for Leviathans. Gives the whole squad Fire Giant buff this time round. And going back to that engagement, some of that will come into Shinto's build too. If I'm honest, there's a lot of life steal
he got
on
a
that build
little
already.
bit of healing there that comes through for him consistently. Is insane from the Leviathans, and they do it so often. They get this Fire Giant for free as well. Now they're set up for even more power. Yeah, Oni Fury, but all these tier 1s, they're about to disappear. That's going to be 1,500 gold in and of itself. They were already
different.
Oh, yeah.
Early game going as bad as it did has now put Leviathans in reusing it.
Yeah, the Golden Duck.
The Golden Duck.
That makes way more sense. Well, I'm thinking of a Golden Goose from something completely different. This is the interesting part. Like, the net worth is so outrageous at this point. Full tier 3 and then some. I mean, Leviathans, if they win a fight here, there's still 3 towers standing, but if they win 2 kills, they're going to be able to push the Titan.
Well, the Titan's very low. Fighting's very low already. Neilmar jumps to the back, trying to slow him down. Good route off on 4 targets, but no one there really there to follow up. Cubo Fred does go for the all-in on Shinto, but gets deleted by Julio and his cavalry charge, who's continuing to chase onto Vote. Vote speed's now down, as is he. As is the Phoenix. Only Nika and Dardes alive. Scrap that. It's just Nika left alive. An absolutely disappointing performance here in Game 1 from Warriors, and an absolutely amazing performance from Leviathans. This is 15-0 in 20 minutes. These guys are here to play this weekend. They took it to the earlier team of the Dragons this week, and today Well, the Warriors need to wake up quick because I don't think Leviathans are going to give them longer than 20 minutes in Game 2
You
again.
can only sing their praises here. They come out ahead all the way across the board. Normally we'd say, oh, this one player looked really good, or this guy's the reason they found a lead, but all the way across the board, 5 members of the Leviathans, a penta threat team, they all just look strong. What do you do to change up in Game 2? Ignore Game 1. Oni Warriors,
fair enough.
Best of luck, guys. It's going to be hard to erase that one from your memory, but Haddix was able to do it earlier, so why not the Warriors?
I think then Yarkor kind of became the spearhead for this Leviathan team. It's no surprise when you get a pick like the Danza and you're ahead and you're able to stay aggressive with the rest of your team, you're probably going to have a performance like Yarkor did in this game, a triple kill to kind of cap things off, and then plenty of damage in on the late game Phoenix Siege that would then turn into the game being over. Yeah, when this is happening, when you're just jumping in the rocket and jumping into the enemy base, you're feeling sad if you're the Oni Warriors, and that definitely was the case here in game number 1. So it really does feel like back to the drawing board here, Myth. 2 kills for everyone on the Leviathans except 7 for Yarkor over there, and the ADC certainly came to play. So when I say back to the drawing board, I wonder how you, well, I'm not going to make you interpret what I'm saying.
Didn't really give us a chance to see it.
This is a team that will figure things out. Let's kick off picks and pans for game number 2. The Leviathans, they don't want to deal with the Gilgamesh, so that's going to take a seat here for the first ban. Things starting to, or things shifting here with the Leviathans in the first pick slot. The Oni Warriors will have that second pick slot. So where the Oni Warriors had a little bit of flexibility in what they wanted to let through and what they wanted to pick first, now have to be concerned about what the Leviathans are going to get on the other side. Soul continues to be this priority issue here, Mifflin, and the Oni Warriors don't want to deal with her. Teams this weekend haven't want to dealt with her, and so she'll take another seat.
The Oni Warriors notably did leave Yamoja open and available when they were in that first pick position, so we'll get a good view on whether or not the Oni Warriors just don't think Yamoja belongs in that first phase of bans, or if they're generally just trying to fish for that pick themselves. Now that they're in second pick, if they ban it out here, it means, yeah, they do value Yamoja, but we're trying to pick it for themselves. So I'm very excited to see how this first phase rounds out. Serket going to be banned out by the Leviathans. Oni Warriors take off Tiamat. So far here, just standard bans across the top.
Yeah, it's another Serket ban, as you mentioned there, Miff, and that one getting taken away from Cubo Fred. I kind of want to see it. Look, there's so much pressure on this pick now. I want to see Cubo Fred get it in his hand, see what he can make work. Yamoja does end up getting banned out. It's by the Leviathans this time. So you look at what's still available. The high priorities are Gilgamesh, Tiamat, Soul, you have to feel like. And then it just seems like a little bit of a flexible ban there for the Oni Warriors once Yamoja's also taken away. And so Guan Yu ends up being the answer. Remember, this is the spot where the Oni Warriors first pick Loki there in game number 1. That's not going to be the same answer for the Leviathans here. Instead, Rong Yu will get a priority pick in the Ymir.
I'm surprised to see the Leviathans go ahead and ban out that Yamoja. We know that Rong Yu loves that pick, is one of the best to have done it with the Water Goddess, but Ymir locked in. And we know he's very capable of that one as well. Has great walls consistently. Oni Warriors, though, going towards the Jing Wei inside of that first pick position. Kind of feels like to me they're saying, all right, let's wait on our other picks. Let's see what they're picking on the side of Leviathan so that my mid laner, my jungler, can go for a counter matchup. So what are you going to do for the Hunter role? Well, pick potentially what is the safest god in the game, Jing Wei. CC immunity in the ultimate, remove your play or yourself from the play field with the airstrike as well as that passive to make sure you're always inside that lane and farming up. But when you're going for these wait and see style picks, the Leviathans aren't going to wait and see. They're going to go for straight towards that meta.
There we go.
Raijin locked in.
Wondered if we would see the tier from Julio. He hinted at it and said maybe in the pregame interview, and the answer is here. And the answer is tier for Julio in the solo lane here. And the Leviathans are not going to give the Oni Warriors any room to breathe, you have to feel like, just given the way that this draft has formed out. No Hunter locked in for the Leviathans just yet, so I wonder if the Oni Warriors feel a little pressure to ban out something in that Hunter pool. We'll have to wait and see on that answer. Discordia, the final lock-in for the Warriors in the first phase of picks.
Yeah, Oni Warriors taking more of an eye towards the jungle here. Wheelish removed from the table. Panatom going to have to go a little bit deeper inside the god pool. And,
do you let Yarkor play Danza again?
I think you can. I mean, what's the alternative? Ban Danza so he goes towards the Chiron or something like that? There's just so many hunters. No, I don't want to see Yarkor playing Chiron. I mean, Danzaburo is the god of win or lose harder, and they were winning pretty hard, so maybe it is going to be a shift up. But no, Loki removed from the table. Oni Warriors showing a lot of respect towards this god.
I guess that does make sense, though, where eventually you're spending so much ban priority on Yarkor when he's going to play anything good anyway. He's going to play anything at near the highest level anyway. So, the Oni Warriors are like, all right, we're going to control the other facets of the game that we can control and just deal with the Hunter on our own regard, kind of regardless of who it is. So the Leviathans will have their pick of the litter in that Hunter department. The Oni Warriors still looking for what we're assuming is solo lane and jungle. And Nika's going to get a very strong pick here to go toe-to-toe with the tier. It's the rotational god in King Arthur.
Man, I had almost forgot this character existed. No way it makes it through 10 bans in my mind, but that's exactly what happens. Chiron picked up on the other side of the board, and, well, there's the answer to your question. Doesn't even feel like going towards the Danza Burrow. Instead, wants to get that early game aggression. Very likely going to be a Bluestone Transcendence build, very power-focused, to get the full ability-focused build. I like it. I like it when Yarkor plays this god because he is one of the most disrespectful hunters we have inside the league. He's going to dash at you at level 2. He's going to dash at you 25 minutes in when he's in your Titan room.
My God.
And he's not going to stop. Why would he?
And we're assuming there's going to be a blink on the Emir at some point in this game. The Leviathans, every single character, especially if they lock in this Mercury, are going to have gap close ability to run at you as fast as they can. Now, worth mentioning, the Oni Warriors have that as well. So if the Oni Warriors get to a point where they're able to play aggressive, they'll have the ability to push that just a little bit further. If you're strictly going off momentum and vibes in the air from game number 1, though, Myth, I'm looking at the draft the Leviathans have and the ability for that to continue to put out pressure, and I'm nervous.
Yeah, that is a very strong early game composition. I think this Mercury selection for Panatom is very interesting in that we've seen that once Chiron gets picked up, a lot of these teams' answers is, all right, let's lock in Mercury, let's use that Sonic Boom, sit between our own towers, and shut down this god that doesn't really have a great way to escape from Merc. So instead, Leviathans say, late Chiron, there's still no jungler selection from the Oni Warriors. Let's go ahead and get rid of that priority pick and take the Mercury for ourselves. And here's a pick that I wasn't expecting to see overly too much here, but now in 2 sets today, Kali locked in.
Incredibly well. I mean, we had mentioned it last game. He likes to farm and then
Farm the early
and then
game, yeah.
farm and then play late.
And I think that's one of the reasons why his Circuit is one of the go-tos for Cuvo Fred too, for the most part. Because in the early game, he can just farm up, but when the fight breaks out, he could turn up to the engagement and make an impact, but would rather go back to farming again. Start the game, though. Nothing really changes. Nothing really has changed in starts for any teams, it feels like, for me, Gore. I'm not seeing any crazy invades, thank goodness. We're not in that meta. But we're also not seeing any weird green buff starts, weird splitting of the camps, so to speak. It's still the same way. And you know what? Myth just called this of Yarkor's going to hit level 2 and charge you. And he did just that.
Yeah, the only thing that's really changed early on, even the Leviathan's playstyle is the exact same here. It's just that Mannequin Scepter that stands out on the side of the Kali, which we saw earlier today, so it's not necessarily even standing out that much. But this Mercury is the one that kind of catches my eye as well. Goes on par in my mind with the Kali.
I tell you, if he would have caught that with that 3 there, it would have been a bit of trouble for Don. It's probably cost him his beads, but already poke damage early on. Backside, the green buff getting taken down by Cuvo. Is now Nika might be able to get a solo kill here. Julio's in a bit of trouble, but there is a whole Archer wave whacking on the back of Nika too. But Julio just trying to back away, gets soloed down by Nika. King Arthur versus the tier.
You want to have an absolute mirror, I guess? Well, maybe not mirror. What's the opposite of that? It doesn't show a reflection. Instead, it's the polar opposite. Nika from Cthulhu, where he's not able to... Yeah, right, a variant. That's a perfect term for it.
Thanks.
Where, Cthulhu, he can't carry, he can't do much as double freeze comes out.
I mean, beads immediately used by Vote, who will escape. Neilmar walks away too, but you can already see the pressure mounting again in the duel. And Chiron Ymir as a combo. Very effective as a blinking from Cuvo. Looks at Shinto. Meanwhile, Cuvo still stepping up because he knows Nika's rotating early. Yeah. Shinto does have the Thunder Crash and timed it well to get back towards the wall, realizing he could have been under some threat.
Nika's the real key, though. As I was trying to say, it's just, can he make those rotations? On King Arthur? Absolutely. On Cthulhu? Not at all. And that's the big difference. Not only that solo kill, but just in general teamfight presence, Nika's going to be there. Nika's going to be able to help lead the team, and that's what we see out of the Warriors. That's typically where they play best. It took them 22 minutes, but they did get a kill online in this set, and I expect a lot more of them out of Nika.
Now Panitom finds Dardes. Dardes doesn't use his beads here, still holding on to them, returns some damage back, not a whole ton. And it's all about the red buff more than anything else, that's why Dardes isn't backing away. However, Rongyu was waiting in the area, and Rongyu will take the red for himself. He's looking to swing a little bit this game, I would say, is now the Leviathans invading the purple buff on the left-hand side. So far, the major focus from the Warriors in terms of advantage has only been in the solo lane. Elsewhere on the map, they are struggling.
And that's a Warriors game through and through, right? I mean, they just always seem to hit the same pace, where Nika has a great time. The duo lane, kind of the opposite. I mean, there was a game at one point where Vote lost, what, 8 purple buffs in a row? He just was not able to get there. And I was actually curious. I had this thought last game when I see that green buff, and I think Wrong Yu answers it perfectly here, which is that idea of, man, now that supports have their own buff, who's going to take the stolen ones away? And the answer is, I'm taking a red every
Blinking
single
from
chance.
Julio as Cubo tried to leap away, clammeted into the wall there, and Panitom's there with the CC follow-up too. Nika, though, gets a ton of damage off, and Panitom has no escape now because of that, and Nika's going to get body blocked by Julio. Great work out of the solo lane from Leviathans. Panitom's a bit greedy. Oh, I'm just watching, I'm not going to say anything. I was like, is he really going to tempt fate with that one?
Like, my mind was, well, doesn't have any mana. Maybe you could go in. The same case here against Vote. There's no mana on the other side. Vote's just going to eat those shots. What are you going to do? You're going to dive the tier 1 at 4 minutes in? No, you're not going to do anything about this. He's going to get the back off no matter what. Worst case scenario, he loses the wave.
Definitely times up, not a whole ton though, as Neilmar does have that Thebes online now, so a bit more health in that build, working on those protections with the stacks. Purple invaded again though by Leviathans and focus on Neil, but a great wraparound from Neil. 180 hammer puts Panitom in the back front for a second. The chase still on though on Panitom, and he did have the Sonic Boom available to escape. Vote still chasing the Wrong Yu under pressure. He could be the casualty here as now the Leviathans bit off more than can chew. Damage out from Dardes with the apple onto Yarkor, as Yarkor didn't realize he was going to get turned on by Dardes. Great target selection from him. Meanwhile though, you see Shinto getting in the fray. He's already picked up 1. Make that 2 on a turnaround. 2 for 2 as the dual lane of Leviathans die. Shinto makes sure it goes back answered.
More engaged on this, even if it's, well, I mean, who are you going to gank? Jingwei, now she's going to get away. Discordia might be the easiest target.
Keep the pressure going, at least get the beads, get the relics, no on cooldown potentially, but look at this, Warriors grouping up a Gold Fury, and because of Neilmar's transformation in front of Wrong Yu, Leviathans know this, but they might have found a good window here, Warriors, to actually take away this Gold Fury. Nika zones away Yarkov from the fight. They destroy Wrong Yu, but the reinforcements are on the way. Panitom with the Sonic Boom charge, looking for the shot, will find it, but it won't be enough for the Gold Fury as Warriors will secure. Left-hand side, now you're trying to see Panitom exit. Yarkov going to give him some coverage too, but the damage already done in favor of the Warriors there, who catch Leviathans with the pants down.
And now you're looking at a spot where maybe you could have fought Cubo, Fred. No, there's 5 members of the Warriors nearby. You get out of there. Panitom's too low. In fact, Nika might look for a gank. Yeah,
they're going to do the wraparound, but Vote's very deep in lane, so this is all on Cubo and Nika on their own. But Nika is level 15, very tanky. You can just see how many pips of health bar he's got to continue spinning to win. Bad news is he drops aggro to Cubo Fred as Neilmar comes in. Vote finally gets up the lane too. This is a long old dive on Yarkor, who's buying a lot of time. The rest of his team not really in a position to do anything about it. Panitom already dead, and obviously Wrong Yu coming back from base. Meanwhile, it's only really a Tyr and a Raijin, and what can they do? Well, I guess they can attempt the Pyro.
Well, that Draugr buff just earned its money, right? Thwarting. That tier 1 should have dropped there, I think,
Good
in
point.
any other circumstance. So it gets a little bit for the Leviathans.
It didn't help against Nika's damage, though, did it?
No, it didn't stop the dive.
Nika,
it just stopped them from killing the tower. So, you give some, you take some.
Yeah, you're still going to end up dying at the tail end of that. So Warriors now actually battled back well in this game. They've started to find a couple of windows now where Leviathans haven't been aware of these rotations. Dardes, though, versus Shinto, and Shinto just read that very well to collapse all in, realizing he had the time to go in the ultimate. And obviously those Taiko drums, well, he's CC immunity in that, so the apple won't bother him too much.
And he's got 3 levels on Cubo. Just 1 tick of that ult did so much damage. I want to see Shinto maybe get aggressive here, especially with Julio going for this long wraparound.
And Vote under pressure again, trapped inside. Will dash away from that, but Panitom's still following up. Neilmar there to support, but Neil can't do a whole lot. Panitom took a ton of damage from Vote, more like, though, and make sure that Panitom is out of the fight. Julio cleans up Vote and walks away alongside the rest of his 3-man squad back to the red buff, where Yarkor is taking it down.
This Mercury pick hasn't really been anyone outside of the Dragon, and so far hasn't really been showcasing a lot here for
Panitom. Does it
either.
need to? In fairness to him, in a way, like right now, I mean, his mid lane is ahead. All of the Warriors just look on high alert right now for an engage from somewhere from this Mercury. As Panitom sneaks up this left-hand side, it looks like, trying to get closer to Vote and catch him on the lazy back. The back gets caught right in time of range, and the full combo connects. The dash is good, but the major look was better. Wasn't even needed, though, because Yarkov threaded that basic. And Wrong Yu, meanwhile, says, how you doing, Warriors? You are not coming in the south of the jungle while my boys are busy giving Vote a hiding.
I'll zone for you if I have to. And now I've got
Taking into account, Neilmar did pick up that Kasari, too, which is going to provide a bit of attack speed for all his team. Pressure in mid from Leviathans, so was exposed to Sonic Fury.
Didn't expect to see this pressure. I mean, they're burning it down insanely fast.
yeah.
Neil has to get aggressive soon, or they're just not going to be able to do anything.
3 damage dealers, specifically with the jungler there too, with all that crit, will definitely help out. Paddington was charging in with the Sonic Boom there, looking for a target potentially. Trapped in the corner though as the damage came over the wall from Dardes to cause problems with Nika and Neil in tow. Warriors are just sat back waiting at the moment. They're not engaging. Why?
That's honestly a good question. Like
Are they
Nika, I mean, he
counterpunching?
just hasn't necessarily been in a great position for it. And I think, honestly, the big thing is distraction factors, right? Julio's saying, I'm over here. You got to be worried about me making a loop around. But more importantly, you're looking at wrong you. He's just going to turn into a wall at some point.
For my money as well, I guess it's the lack of engage they've really got on the Oni Warriors side. I mean,
Yeah,
you're looking at a blink from Nika, you're looking from a Cuvo initiation, you don't really want your Carly initiate if you can help it. And then last but not least, I guess you're looking at a hammer from Neil Mar. And that's really your options for the most part. At the Pyromancer though, Neil Mar is trying to dissuade the Pyromancers from doing so. Nika juggles Shinto into the egg, gets the beads out of him, and Nika's going to slow down Yako in the front. Rest of the Warriors are now on their way. Vote last to arrive. Neil at half health though as Dardes comes on in. Pyro now pulled by the Warriors as they look for it for themselves. Meanwhile, Leviathans have not given up yet. They're coming back in force. A little bit late for Panatom coming in. This could be the secure and will be of the Pyromancer to the Warriors, who play that very well. Full credit to Nika, but a blink from Rongyu gets the beads out of Kivo, traps Nika in a wall situation, and the rest of the Leviathans are on the way, but Nika is just so tanky.
I mean, you just need so much more. He goes up into the air with
Sonic
hardcore,
Boom.
but they just don't have anything to burn him down.
Sonic Boom came through from Panatom, didn't find a target properly. As
Cuvo.
Vote now walks in too. Dardes and Vote sat in the back trying to live, but the following shot from Yorkor, the Master's will. Panatom went in, went to punch Dardes and Vote secure the kill. Julio next on the list to die as Vote Jingwei
Shinto?
ults in, but it won't be enough. Meanwhile in the back, Shinto still trying to get the kill on Dardes, and will do so. He was left alone, got through the whole backline towards Dardes, and this could be an interesting 1v1, but Vote sustain will come into play a little bit there, and the autos are weaved. 3 for 3 though. Live look at all their almost experimentation, or weather experiments have led them to so far, as now Julio and Nika continue to duel. The Warriors dance around the FG pit.
There's a fun test over here as actually Nika looks to get aggressive here.
Beats down on Shinto there as well. That's a huge win for them. Nika would have called that to the team. But who would be the target to really look at him then? I'm guessing you're looking at Cuvo Fred, if anyone, to try and find that. Maybe the apple out of Dardes too, just to prevent the Thunder Crash away. Fire Giant leashed here by Warriors. It's taking its time. You see the Leviathans just watching on. Pyromancer spawning soon. And both teams dancing.
But this rock that they're hanging around for the Leviathans is why I try to get into it. There's a good freeze. It's Nika, though. I don't know that it's going to be a lot, but look at Julio.
Yeah, Julio went in at the same time as the focus was on Nika. Sonic Boom, they'll prove 3 members of the Warriors, and the Warriors have to fall back in tow. Cuvo Fred got low, but he does still have his ultimate available, I believe. Now Shinto chasing in, looking at Neil Mar. The front line has to use his ultimate defensively. Now it could be a turnaround again if we want to see the Warriors go. Neil escapes for now. Julio hunting on the left, has his blink. Won't find his Palitom uses a Sonic Boom there to go back in, but he took a ton of damage too. The health bars of both teams low. Only really Shinto, Dardes, and Nika in a healthy spot right now.
His positioning right now around the Fire Giant means so much more. It's specifically where the Leviathans are right now, where they were hanging out before. There's a new camp over there. That rock's a little bigger than it used to be.
That's true.
It's got to be a little arduous to get used to because it's just not. It's been the same all year. Now you have a little more room if you want to get
And
around.
the tail end of the fight, which is where we saw earlier on a fight go in favor of Warriors, but Shinto made a good play to make it a double. Primal Fury, though, going to go to Leviathans, and I think this is a good call from them. Primal Fury going down. We know what this buff is for. We just don't talk about it that much.
And it's able to help burn this Fire Giant down, right? It's literally the best case scenario for you is to get that right now. You had highlighted a few minutes ago, like, man, somebody just go split push that. Grab that. It doesn't matter if you get the towers.
Yeah.
And it's just so difficult. I had highlighted maybe Vote being able to do it because he's got enough sustain that he should be able to live through it and enough damage that he'll kill it in plenty time. And Jingwei has a great passive for getting back into the fight. But it works even better if you get it with your Mercury, you collapse in on it, and now you get the full rotation, you're going to be able to burn that Fire Giant really fast if the Warriors give you an opportunity.
Fire Giant pulled by the Warriors. Julio walking in, Rongyu alongside him, and Nika frozen into a wall again. I've said that a few times, but the damage onto Nika starting to hurt a little bit more than when he does get connected with stuff. Dardes, though, giving some return as Neilmar jumps in. Shinto's Thunder Crash down, and Cubo wrapping around the back on the right-hand side. Can Cubo get to the carries in the back line? Looking at Yoko or Shinto, more importantly. Aegis now used. Sonic Boom used by Panitom, but the Sonic Boom didn't find a target at all. Cubo Fred, though, did finally take down Shinto. Rongyu trying to help out. Yarkor up against Nika as Cubo chases for another kill. Julio's frontlining antics are coming to an end though as he tries to fall back to a tier 2, but the hammer over the wall from Neymar may have spelt his demise. Luckily enough, Rongyu was there and the chase was over. Warriors find 1 kill, by the way, and now they're going to go back towards this FG. This is how close Game 2's been in terms of these picks and bans and compositions.
Panatom was able to back, he has full health, technically able to get in, but no ult, so he's going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. It's the hard call of, do you actually want to commit to that? He would have died for that FG.
And
Kill somebody. If you can get Cuvo, if you get Dardes, all of a sudden you change the pace of the game with that. But they're trying to kill off Nika maybe too much here for their own good.
Well, it's an enhanced fire giant from the Warriors here, but looking at the Leviathans' positioning so far, they're not willing to surrender too much in the jungle or too much in terms of Phoenixes. The left-hand side will fall down, but mid lane, you can see Kuro just trying to hang around there looking for it instead. Panitom's going to get aggressive towards him there with that blink initiation, but won't be able to find it as Kuro leaps away. Now you see the Warriors turn their attention towards mid, looking for the tier 1 tower into tier 2, trying to extrapolate this gold lead potentially and expose these Phoenixes. The problem is though, Gore, it's taking them a while.
Yeah, I mean, just now got the tier 1, they got the tier 2 over and left, but they've already burned 2 minutes of their fire giant buff, so it is definitely taking a slower roll. At this pace, you can still get a Phoenix, but it's a lot more pressure that you're going to have to apply, and they're putting it all on mid, which admittedly, it's a great Phoenix to get. Not quite as good as left just because of the proximity to Fire Giant, but at this point, I think anything is better than nothing.
Neilmar starts to rotate around to the mid lane and take the pressure of the tier 2 tower. Cube on the left, Nika on the right, trying to isolate the Leviathans who are turtling under this tier 2 tower as they pressure the dive carries the backside, and it's Dardes under a lot of pressure. Shito gets the kill, Sorso, Vote gets pressured by Panitom, and now Vote could end up dying there too. Neilmar has to deal with Yarkor, Shinto, and Rongyu in his face, and he's going to fall down too. That was a fire giant composition of the Oni Warriors getting aggressive, and Leviathans pulled the trigger in action before they could set up, and now Vote is on the run.
Panatom has been looking for this kill. Had to be cautious early on. Just walks over the ward. Should know Vote's nearby. Doesn't know where he is exactly. So Vote's going to be able to play that, but like you said, that was a fire giant that has just been turned on its head, and you're not looking to kill Nika anytime soon, but you just got a tier 2 of your own. You might even be able to get a Phoenix.
They're looking at it, you know. I wasn't sure if they would, but wrong use here. Panitom finally joins in Cubo, Fred, and Vote on defense here. Nika was trying to get back towards his defense too, but Julio's just causing him problems in doing so, as now Nika gets rolled into the corner. Beautiful little wall from Rongyu there just to secure, but I think Shinto may have had it with that damage anyway.
Maybe that helps you out a little bit, but this is actually great for the Warriors. Nika dies, unfortunately, but just soon enough that it's not like a fire giant's going to fall on the other side, and it's not like they're going to be able to get anything huge out of it.
Leviathans, though, realizing they've got a bit of a window on the right-hand side with a minion wave of Onis coming up here. Warriors did not deal with them effectively enough around this right-hand side, and so a tier 2 tower is taken away by Leviathans, opening up and exposing the right-hand side Phoenix. Neilmar, though, on the front lines, does have that Magi's Cloak available this time, trying to provide himself a bit more survivability and sustain in these engagements. The Fire Giant was being done, I didn't even see it! Oh my goodness me! They snuck it away without the Warriors really knowing, or even the casters, to be honest. My apologies for that. And straight away, Warriors retreat back to their base. And though, to maybe see Panitom initiate to mix things up a little bit in this engagement. The problem is, he puts himself in an awkward spot and his beads are down, so maybe not expect that just yet. Left-hand side, though, is all the focus. Minions in mid and right-hand side will delay any sort of aggression there. Straight 5-on-5 on left. What can the Warriors do to defend?
Well, there's about 2.5 minutes, a little over, on that Fire Giant buff right now. So Panatom, look, if you need to wait 20 seconds for those beats to come up, I think they have the wiggle room to do it. They just keep the Warriors in this kind of state of limbo.
Neilmar does have a very deep ward just by Panitom there, you can see on the map too. Just to make sure he's got vision of this Sonic Boom being charged or how deep the Leviathans are playing. Wall already dropped by Rongyu, who takes a couple of tower shots, but there's not enough wiggle room there for Yarkor to throw in a basic and check his damage output onto this Phoenix.
I mean, that's such a great word placement in terms of where they're going to be able to catch Phantom, but he's going to go in soon.
Blink on Darnus, though, and Darnus is nearly dead already to Julio 1v1. The follow-up shot from Yorkor comes through, and I believe he also hit him with that ultimate too. Panitom's short-range Sonic Boom will be used for a second as Cubo now into the pit, has to use his ultimate and his beads to continue the chase.
What a
but the
wall!
wall from Wrong U will prevent Panitom's death. He will still fortune Neil more though, when the tail enders Nika and Neil try to combine to get some kills. Double kill though for Shinto. Now Yorkor gets the kill, the base is broken, and a crazy engage off the back of Julio secures the kills, secures the Phoenix, and secures the game. It took Leviathans 42 minutes to do what they did in 20 for game 1, but they will come out victorious.
Much
incredibly
stronger.
high as well. Every single individual piece had to work out here.
Yeah,
The
wow,
only
Shinto.
question mark I had where there was a couple questionable plays from Panatom going towards a god that we haven't seen from him too much, but certainly we saw the heat is there. He was setting up for his team, and here's one play just where that happens. Sets up for Yorkor to pick up that kill.
Yeah, I think the carries filled the space that was provided to them by the front line very well here in this matchup. Shinto was aggressive on the Raijin, jumping in, finding damage. Yorkor was there in the back line as well to find that damage. I think Julio, despite some early stumbles in that lane, was able to put together a pretty good performance on this tier here as well. And talk about Rangyu here, Myth. I mean, felt like the walls were just not going to miss
Was this
here
the
in
one?
this game.
This wall right here, Dave. This one freaked me out. Through the wall, nearly
I can't see
blind
anything there. He
to
just-
line it up. You just, yep. Now you're stuck, Nika. Unfortunate situation. The Leviathans, I think, have proven time and time again that Ymir is a god that they should not be allowed to play.
Yep.
I've gone on record saying that I think Rongyu has kind of perfected this god. We've seen what the peak of Ymir can look like, and it looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good. 31,000 and 30,000 damage, respectively, for Yorkor and Shinto. Also looks pretty good here. Remember the way the Leviathans are playing right now? I think it's going to be difficult right up there up top with the Bolts.
Hey, they've got some people on their heels, man. Some personal favorites. I think they're going to step up a little bit as these weeks start to roll through. Camelot Kings, only fallen once so far here in Phase 2. I think we can expect to see them have a pretty nice rise. And, well, Jade Dragons being 0-2, I'm not sure is too indicative of where they should
I
be
was
so
looking for
far.
them.
Yeah, not often you got to look that far down the list, for these guys. But Jade Dragons have been struggling a little bit here at the beginning of Phase 2. I don't think you can expect them rather to stay down there.
No, for what it's worth, the Jade Dragons have pulled a very difficult card to start off Phase number 2. They have the Leviathans to start off this weekend, so that was their second loss, and the Leviathans roll through the Oni Warriors. It was about time we got a non-3-game set here this weekend, and a convincing performance from the Leviathans over the Oni Warriors. We'll see to it that this day ends, I won't say quickly, but faster than it would have if the Oni Warriors had completed that Game 2 turnaround. Dragons, Valkyries start off the day tomorrow. Solar Scarabs, Camelot Kings. Myth, I think there's some intrigue in those matchups there. It's a really big bounce-back opportunity for this Jade Dragons team, the ability for the Valkyries to show some turnaround maybe in that first matchup.